You may proceed.
Mr. Clark, at first Miss Grace never wanted animal acts on the show, isn't that right?
That's true. We had never done it before, so she was adamant about that until Danny Kosak came along.
And you had offered some animal acts prior to Danny Kozak coming on the show, isn't that right?
Of course, yeah, they were becoming a hit sensation on YouTube. I think everybody got caught onto the Steve Irwin craze, so yeah, they gained popularity, and that's when I suggested them to Alex Grace.
And Miss Grace responded by saying, animals belong outside and not on Midlands After Dark.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think she said something like that.
So it came to your surprise when she wanted to bring Danny Kozak and Elias on the show.
Yeah, actually, I didn't know when I first reached out to Danny Kosak that Elias was in Chimpanzee, so I was a little surprised, yeah.
And you were the one in charge of communication between yourself and Danny Kozak, isn't that right?
Absolutely, I was the middleman.
And as mentioned on direct testimony, you received some guidelines.
I did, yeah, it's the guidelines I talked about.
Now, do you have those guidelines still in front of you?
I don't, actually.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Sure. I'll be approaching the witness with what has been previously entered into evidence, Exhibit 23. Will the record reflect I'm showing opposing counsel the same copy I'll be showing the witness? Your Honor, do you have a copy?
I do. Thanks so much.
Now, Mr. Clark, if you could turn to page 2.
Sure.
Item 15. Please read silently as I read aloud. Make sure everyone has read this handout. Now, that is what it says, isn't that right?
That is.
And all you did was email it to everyone, isn't that right?
No, I actually had an informal meeting with the rest of the staff to make sure that everybody understood them line by line.
Yes, but this meeting wasn't mandatory, was it?
Well, no, it wasn't.
And some staff, including Miss Grace, didn't even show up.
Alex Grace had a prior arrangement with her makeup artist, rather, but I'd sent them to him before, so didn't need to be there.
But again, this meeting wasn't mandatory, so you didn't go over it with every one of your staff.
No, just everyone present.
Now, Mr. Clark, a few days before the rehearsal, you received a phone call from Danny's assistant, Kennedy, isn't that right?
Yeah, I remember that phone call pretty well.
And Kennedy gave you a list of 7 guidelines to follow.
Gave them to me is kind of putting it lightly. She basically just shouted them out at me real fast before I had any chance to write anything down.
Exactly, and you only caught the last 3 guidelines.
Yeah, she was speaking about 1,000 words a minute. It was really hard to keep track. I didn't even get a word in.
So you completely missed the first 4.
Yeah, like I said, I picked up the phone, and before I could introduce myself, she was already boom, 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 4 way down the line.
Mr. Clark, those 4 guidelines could have been important.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I tried to call her back afterwards to make sure that I have everything down, but I got her voicemail.
But you never tried to contact Danny Kozak about this call, did you?
You know, I didn't. It says here at the top of the guidelines that Danny would hold his own safety meeting with us that he would run, and I figured that any one of my concerns I could bring up then.
But you never contacted him to address your concerns prior to it, did you?
Well, no, it was my understanding that he'd have this meeting.
Now, Mr. Clark, on June 29th, 2017, during the rehearsal, you were not actually present on that day, were you?
No, I was sick.
So you were not there to make sure that every one of your staff followed the rules and guidelines.
No, I mean, I'm just the talent booker. I was the midway, but I'm not in charge of each individual.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I have no further questions.
Thank you. Redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor. May Mr. Clark step down?
Sure. Please start that.
Thank you.